everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started just because I don't want, when people watch this on the replay, I don't want them to be awkwardly staring at me and me awkwardly staring at them while we're waiting for people to join. So welcome everybody. I'm super excited to talk to you guys about cookie donations. Let me just give you a little bit of a brief introduction. My name is Kimberly Treacy. My cookie name is Mulberry Treats, and you may know me from the Hot Mess cookie memes and the calendar. I have my shirt on, but of course I have it too low. You can't see it. But I was branding, right? I had my branding all ready, but it didn't work out with the way the setup was. So unlike most of you guys, I've actually been a hobby baker for 8 years. I've never really sold my cookies for many reasons. Primarily, one, we didn't have home baking laws here in Maryland for the longest time, so I was volunteered with several home bakers and nonprofits to get the law changed. So we got the law changed in 2018. Anyway, so I've never really sold cookies as a business. I teach classes and then I sell my Hot Mess cookie calendars and merch and all that stuff, but cookies are not a business for me. So I have 8 years experience. Sorry, I'm looking at me. I'm looking at the camera. I'm sorry. That's annoying. So most of my experience with cookies has been donating them, which I figure is I've learned a lot over the years. I've made a lot of mistakes and I've seen what works and what doesn't. So I'm happy to share that knowledge since I don't have any, much information to share with you guys about actually selling cookies and making money selling cookies. So because excuse me, if you guys follow me on Instagram, this is one of my famous meat jars that I just love drinking out of because they make me happy. But I thought these were I found them in an antique store and I thought they were so cute and I bought them and it turns out they're just Armor dried meat jars, but it's a big joke in our family, but I still love them. I got 8 jars of canned beef for Christmas in my stocking. But anyway, I digress. So because I wasn't selling, I had to look for opportunities to make cookies. And as you guys know, as soon as you get the cookie bug, you want to cookie everything. You want to just make cookies for everything. So I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids were really young. I still had a kid in school, and we lived in California at the time. I moved when we were about a year after I'd been decorating. So the state we moved into didn't have home baking laws. So for me, cookie donations was a great opportunity for me to make cookies. I was like, this is awesome. It helps people, and I get to be creative. I don't have the pressure of running a business. I didn't need to run a business at the time. And then when we moved to Maryland, I couldn't run a business at the time. So it just was a natural fit. And I think the second or third set I ever decorated was a donation for my son's preschool. We had a family that was, one of the parents was battling cancer, and I made cookies for it. And I was hooked after that. And as you guys know, once people find out that you make cookies, they're going to come out of the woodwork and find you for free cookies. One thing, we're going to talk about today. Of course, everybody wants free cookies, like all your family members, but this is specifically related to donations for charities. And I have a live on donations for local creatives and using cookies for styled shoots and raffles and stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, but mostly this is about donating to charities. And when people start asking you, especially if you're starting out or you don't have a plan or you haven't really thought about this and you're just kind of going along doing your cookie thing and you get bombarded with requests, it can be really stressful. Sorry, I need to look at the camera. I keep looking at my face. It can be really stressful. So, the best thing is to have a plan, and that's what we're here to talk about. You can say no, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. So why donate? Like the twins say, we're here to make money. We don't want to leave money on the table, and giving cookies away is giving money away. And that's how some people look at it, but I like to look at it as, and what I'm going to talk about today is how donations and free cookies, start to think of that as part of your marketing campaign, as your advertising campaign, as money well spent that you can get rewards from. It does, donating cookies is good for your heart, and it can also be good for the bottom line of your business. It can be, I don't want to say lucrative, but it's just a wonderful avenue of, going out there and doing good for your community and also benefiting your business. There are tons, and I'm sure there are tons of great charities in your community. They're out there doing good work. They need help. As small business owners, we all know the cost of butter, right? The cost of everything has gone up, and it affects charities as well. So if I can help a small business with my cookies, and I'm able to do it with my, time constraints and other responsibilities, then I'm happy to do it. And that just, for me, that's kind of why I got into cookies, and I think a lot of us do too. It really comes from the heart. As bakers, we like to break bread with people. This is how we break bread with people. We just when we bake from our heart. So it's a natural avenue for us to pursue as not only like just personally, but professionally too, because it jives well with what our core values are anyway. And you don't have to support everything. Support the causes you believe in. This is a great opportunity for you to, if you don't have the time to donate, you can, or the money to donate, people are always happy to get cookies. Another reason to donate is because this gets you in front of your ideal clients. I can't even count how many cookies I have donated to our PTA in some areas, at my kids' school, the parent-teacher organization. We have events all throughout the year, like spring carnival. In high school, there's prom, you guys know. There's so many different events throughout the school year where we do silent raffles. That's a huge thing at our school, and I've donated tons of cookies for that. But the good thing about the PTO is that gets you in front of your clients. And not only the parents, but the kids. I donated, I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I used to donate cookies, and now I just donate cookie classes. But I had like a line of little girls in front of my little flyer at the raffle ticket, and they were like, "Mama, like outbid this person," and it was hysterical, and it was cute, and it was the biggest ticket item for our school. There's schools are a little bit different. You're not going to get super huge ticket items like you would at a gala, but that made me feel really good, and to be able to bring in that much money for my kids' school. And it was, those kids, once one kid does it, you know how it goes. They just drop like dominoes, and all the other kids want to do it. So speaking of galas and fundraisers, I live in Annapolis, so kind of a big metropolitan area outside of Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So we have a lot of rich people here. Just gonna say it. They have galas. There's tons of charities in the area. They have these nonprofits have big galas, big events. We have the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, which is huge. We've got a local homeless shelter that is very popular for people to donate through, and lots of just really amazing local charities that are just really prominent within our community. So I've donated to those as well, and it's a great thing because, like I said, rich people go to these things, and rich people buy cookies. Like, they're happy to drop $75 on a cookie class, or a dozen cookies, or $500 or $600 on a private decorating party. The other thing, which I kind of talked about in a previous slide, but I think it's important to mention it here since it is, sorry, it's kind of weather alert, since it is technically a donation, is donating to local small businesses. So that's like raffles, business launches, like anytime someone launches like a book or a new, not product line, but I don't know if you guys have them here. We have them here all the time. Like, different businesses will launch stuff, or they'll have like parties and events. Those get you in front of photographers and event planners, which you guys share, or we share the same clients, right? I mean, people who are going to spend money on photo shoots and hiring an event planner or a party planner are going to be the type of people who are going to drop cash on cookies and classes and private parties. So that's just good networking. I donated, I've got some pictures here I'll show you later, but I donated to, like, we have a local farm here and she has a market. And so the opening of her market, I donated a raffle item of some cookies. I did one for their Christmas, their holiday market. It's so cute. And it was just a little cookies in a mug and wrapped it in cellophane in a bow. And it wasn't much time for me, but it looked great at her event and she was really happy and we were able to cross promote, which I love doing. And that's a huge benefit of doing this, is just your local cross promotion, because all of these small business owners cater to the same types of people. So if they can mention you and you can mention them, it's a win-win. And finally, why donate it? It just reflects well on you. It reflects well on you as a person and also a business. I don't know how you guys feel, but I love supporting different businesses throughout my community and online who do good stuff. I mean, look at Tom's Shoes. That just appeals to our human nature, where if it's easy to support someone doing good, you know, maybe, yes, I'm not going to go out and like pick up trash off the highway, but yeah, I'll support a business who does good. I will buy a ticket to this charity event. I will buy this raffle item, you know, at these cookie sets or a cookie class at a fundraiser. So it's an easy way to get out there and appeal to people's good nature. We had a local restaurant here that burned down in Annapolis a couple of like a month or two ago, and I mean, people came out of the woodwork to help them, and it was amazing to see people get behind the community. And a lot, you know, you notice the businesses that were coming forward and donating, and so that's just something to think about too, especially when, I mean, I don't want to say like capitalize on a bad, you know, event, but it was just really nice to see the community and people really enjoy being part of that. And if you can help people be part of that by donating cookies, then, and it's going to look good on you because it comes from your heart, then, you know, get yourself out there and, you know, accept that from the universe. So like I said, once people figure out that you make cookies, they will hunt you down. So what next I'm going to talk about is how to, before I talk about how to say no gracefully, we're going to talk about when to say yes. Say yes if you, like the twins have said this too, if you're able to do it financially with your business, say yes. If it excites you, say yes. If you are like, man, that's awesome, or, you know, I have the perfect set to make for that. I've been wanting to do a such and such set. That'll be perfect. Here in Maryland, we love our state. We love crabs. We love our flag. I mean, everyone in the DMV area knows this. So those sets do really well. I mean, to do like a local Maryland, I mean, those always go over well. So if you're excited to do something for the charity, then do it. If it fills you with dread, you see my cat. That's Nimbus. He's my helper. If it fills you with dread, say no. Just if you are overworked, overstressed, and it is hard for us because as bakers, we are people pleasers. Generally, we like to make things nice for people. We like to bring joy into people's events and into their homes and in their lives. So I feel this, like it hurts to say no to people, especially because there are so many good causes. But like I said, if it fills you with dread, you have my permission to say no. You have my permission. Because you cannot say yes to everything. It's absolutely impossible. And this is coming from someone who has made hundreds and probably thousands of cookies for donations over the past 8 years. I could literally spend every second of every day trying to make cookies for good causes. That's just how many good causes there are out there. So since we can't say yes to everything, the most important thing and how to say no gracefully is to just have a policy. Like, sit down with yourself, like the twins say, have a meeting with yourself, sit down and figure out, hey, people are starting to come, I'm launching my cookie business, or I'm however many years in my cookie business, people are starting to come and ask, and trust me, once one person does it, then they'll all start asking. So come up with a policy. Okay, I can do 5 dozen a year, and set that as your goal. You know, when you're starting out, set it low. Okay, this year I'm only going to commit to 3 because I did this, you know, last year and it was overwhelming. So this year I'm going to do 3 dozen cookies, and that's my limit, and stick to it. Again, and this goes back to not only policies, but your own boundaries. So I know it's very tempting to break your policy and be like, oh, yeah, it's okay. This is really important. I did this summer with the fire that we had at one of our local restaurants. I had literally just donated 2 cookie classes, and I couldn't say no. I mean, I couldn't say no. So then I had 3 cookie class gift certificates like floating out there, which I'll get to that later. It caused me a lot of stress, but luckily I have them all booked, so that's not kind of floating out there, but that is a consideration. Just to, you know, stick to your policies and stick to your set boundaries. And then if you know, say I can do a dozen, or I can do 2 classes, like I'll donate 2 private decorating parties a year, and just stick to it. Then you can always reevaluate at the end of the year. So, hey, this year I donated 5 cookie sets, and you know, I really didn't get any business, or I really got business out of 1 or 2, or I didn't really get any business about, you know, the last 3. So just, you know, this is fluid, just like our business. You always have to reevaluate, and if it, you know, you maybe didn't get what you had expected out of the donations the first year, you know, reevaluate and pick different charities the next year, or maybe switch up. Like I'll get into this later, but I found more success with cookie decorating, like private parties, than just like a set of cookies. They make more money for the charity. I'll get into that later. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Another thing you can do to kind of establish those boundaries and set your policies is limit yourself to 501c3s. As a parent, and I'm sure you guys, many people I know in the group have been hit up for this, where people have like fundraisers, but it's really just for like your kid to go to soccer camp or cheerleading camp or something like that. I do not get into those. Like I mean, I understand as a parent, like having to pay for sports, like I do get it. But as a business, I don't give free cookies for that. I do give cookies for 501c3 charities. And I'll get into that a little bit more on the tax part of this live, but I don't get into that. So if you are getting like a lot of those requests, and you really start getting bombarded with kind of like, oh, well, you know, a lot of school things, you can kind of establish that, and that'll weed out a lot of people, like even just like bloggers or local, like, you know, influencers who are wanting free cookies from you. Have that in your policy to say, I'm sorry, but I can only donate to 501c3 charities. And when you have to say no, people will understand. I have been on the other end of this for many years as a parent and just a volunteer in the community. I've been volunteering since like high school for all kinds of different charities. So I've been on the receiving end of having to go out and ask small businesses for donations for free stuff. Like we need t-shirts, we need like coffee for this, you know, walk, and muffins, and I've asked for everything you could think of for free on behalf of a charity, and I never took it personally. Like people understand, like people who are, it's difficult to ask people in businesses for free things, so they understand. If you have to say no, I was told no a billion times, and I never took it personally, because they, like as a volunteer asking for stuff, I know that tons of other charities are asking you for free stuff, and no one takes it personally. If they do, you don't want to do business with them anyway. So people will understand. Now, as you get into your business and you start getting asked more and more, I think it's really good as part of your policy to just have a canned response. Have it in your auto, you know, your saved email responses, because that'll really help free you from the guilt of having to say no and sit and draft this letter, like every, couple weeks, having to draft this email that doesn't feel good to say no to people. So my best advice is sit down, put in a true crime podcast or a show, Dateline, whatever, to calm your nerves with some murder and mayhem. And when you're in a good space, write this letter instead of like forcing yourself to write it on the spot and feeling bad every time you do it. And then it's ready to go. You just like copy and paste and hit send, and everyone's happy. Thank you so much. As a small business, I have a very limited number of donations that I can make per year, and unfortunately, I've already met those for the year. Thank you so much for reaching out. Please feel free to respond, or please feel free to inquire next year for another event, and hopefully I'll have availability. You don't want to open yourself up to constantly being asked. So if you are in one of those positions, so yeah, murder and mayhem, that's right. So if you do find yourself in a position, because another reason of, drafting your email is if you're getting annoyed by people asking you, you don't want to be responding all the time in an annoyed way. Like, we get that, and I know people say this a lot, and this is probably one of my least things that I hear in Sugar Cookie Marketing Group is no is a complete sentence. And I do agree with that, but in customer service, I don't think that it is. That may be an unpopular opinion in the group, but for me, it's not. Like, as a business owner, you will never get an email from me that just is one word. So if you're getting annoyed by people asking you, and it does happen, like I said, especially once word gets out, have a canned response. So you're not annoyed and sending curt messages out to people who may turn out to be wonderful referrals, who may book private events, who may, want to schedule a cookie class, who may have corporate orders to give to you. So just always be mindful that if you're saying no to one thing, you may be saying no to 5 different things down the road, where they may have referred you out or had a small business or an event planning business on the side, where, don't burn those bridges with a curt reply. So if you're feeling annoyed, write that email so you have it and you don't have to be annoyed when you're sending it out. Also, if you're getting a lot of requests, post your policies on your website. That'll weed out so many people. We want to cut down on the amount of emails that we're getting that we're not, just like orders. Like, you don't want to, like the twins say, if you don't post where your location is, you're going to be getting, fielding a lot of requests for orders that you can't fulfill because they're out of state or out of your county or whatever. So the more information you can post and weed out those people physically emailing you and contacting you and reaching out, and you don't have to deal with them, then that's better for your bottom line, more time to watch true crime, right? You can also do a form, you can put a jot form on your website, and that'll get the information, and that kind of weeds out the people who are just really wanting free stuff. If they have to fill out a form, and that helps you manage it. And then when you've met your criteria for if you've met your quota for the year, look, I did my 15 and that's all I can do, then you can close the form, put on there, thank you so much for your interest. I'm no longer accepting, donations for this year. The form, my donation slots or whatever will open up on June, and put a date on there. So if they're really really want to get your cookies, they'll be back in January. These events usually are every year, and so there's just kind of this year-long process of going through finding donations and finding sponsors and things like that. So they'll put it in their tickler, and January 1st, bloop, they'll fill it out and they'll be first to get. You can also have a policy where you only do it once, you don't repeat the same people, because it is limited. I mean, we are usually one people shows, and it's hard to make all that for people. So the next thing is how to make the most money for your charity, because that really is the bottom line. I mean, the benefits of marketing and getting your name out in the community and drumming up business later is kind of a side benefit. But the real purpose of donating something is to bring in as much money as you possibly can for this charity. So I've gone, like I said, I have been doing this for a long time, and I have learned some lessons. Now I'm going to share those with you. What I first started out doing was cookie sets, right? I would do a very elaborate cookie set customized to the event. and it does look great. So the benefits of it's people get excited, especially if you can relate it to the gala event or the fundraiser or the charity that you're donating it to or your community. Like if you have it relatable, sports teams sometimes do really well. So that is a benefit. It looks great. People ooh and ah over the cookies. They look great on the display table because usually, I don't know if you guys have been to these, but a lot of these auctions, a lot of times it's just like flat pieces of paper. Like they'll have the sheet of paper with the silent auction, and then they'll have like either a huge basket or it's just like flat sheets of paper. So you want to do something to kind of make your cookies stand out. What I found though is it depends on the charity, but the boxed cookie sets don't bring in very much money. So and I say this as a hobby baker, so I'm not cranking out cookies every week. If you guys are cranking out cookies every week and you can just make an extra dozen for like a pre-sale, like a Halloween, and box those aside and donate those, then I think donating cookie sets would be great. For me, like, because I was a hobby baker, like I had the free time to like go all out, and so I would spend like 20 hours decorating these cookies, and they would bring in like $40, and I'd be like crushed at these events. So that is why I started trying different things, because I was like, I'd rather just cut a check to the school for $50 than like spend 20 hours like making these cookies and them not bringing in a ton of money. So the next thing that I started doing was cookie gift cards. So you get a gift certificate for a cookie, like a dozen cookies, and I've made little flyers, which I'll show you guys some examples, but I did like little flyers. Those can sell great too. Here's an example of one. So those do really well too, because one, you're not having to make a bunch of cookies up front. So you can make one cookie. So I'll show you. I have examples here saved in my phone. I did a folder just for you guys. So like this is an example of what I'm talking about, where it's a cookie. Oh, where's my finger? It's a cookie, and then this gift certificate that I obviously made in Canva to like match the cookies. And I put it in a cute box with a Brady's bow, and that does really well because you're not having to spend 20 hours like doing a really custom set. People can see your work, they can see the cookie, they can ooh and ah over like one cookie or maybe like a little mini set, and then get their gift certificate and then cash that in later. So hi Amy. So that's that worked better for me personally than doing these elaborate like dozen cookie sets that didn't bring in as much money as I thought they should. But like I said, the goal is to bring in not just my pride, but the goal is to bring in more money for the charity. So the one cookie and the gift certificate brought in more interest. It brought in more money because people can say, oh, well, here's a cute cookie, and then hey, like Billy's birthday or Susie's graduation, so they can cash that in later. And I'm going to talk about policies and lessons learned later. The next thing I started doing was actually donating private cookie decorating parties. And this is my favorite thing to donate. I'll show you this. They're my favorite thing to donate because one, there's zero upfront work other than making the flyer in Canva. I don't have to spend hours. So like we had Lighthouse is a local homeless shelter, and a local photographer reached out to me this summer to donate it. And the event was the week my son graduated from 8th grade. And I said, hey, Megan, I would love to donate it, but there's no way I have time with all this stuff going on. And his birthday was that week to donate, like make a set and donate it, but I'll do a gift card for a cookie decorating class. It brings in more money. And I'll usually ask him, it depends on the nature of the event, like a PTO or some smaller events may not have the like resources to take on big ticket items, but other places like the galas and like the huge like charity fundraisers in your community will love big ticket items. So I usually ask them, I'm like, do you want a small ticket item or a big ticket item? And sometimes they have asked for both, and I say no, just you got to pick one. I'm not doing both. So again, back to setting boundaries. But one thing I like about the cookie decorating classes is that there's no upfront work. The charities love them. They do bring in the most money. I mean, they bring in a few $100s, like $200 to $400 for the charity, which to me, that's great for the charity. And personally, I know some of you guys are different because you do make cookies, like you've got a great system of making cookies, but it's easier for me to make cookies for a class of 6, just to bake off the cookies and make the icing, than spend like 3 days decorating a dozen cookies. So it actually, for me, was a time saver to start donating it this way, just because it was just, I feel like it mentally feels like easier. Like I feel like I'm getting a break donating a cookie decorating class than I am donating a big customized dozen set. The other benefit of donating the cookie decorating parties is if you are on the fence about teaching classes, this is an excellent way to get experience and build up your confidence in teaching a public class and selling paid tickets for it. I cannot stress that enough. So if you are on the fence, just do this, donate a cookie decorating class. There's not a lot of pressure. These are social events, so I usually don't even make samples for them, just because everyone who's coming to a private party is friendly. They're chit-chatting most of the time. Like, they're not there to like studiously like learn the different techniques. They just want to have a good time. So I highly encourage you to think about this as an option, and I'll talk about the tax benefits in a second, for donations, especially if you want to get out there and get into classes and private parties, like public classes and private parties. This is a great gateway into that. Also, the classes are great because it's really great word of mouth. People really like them, and especially if you're people like one of the people who won, bid on one of my cookie decorating classes. She's doing it for her teenage daughters, and so that's gold right there. I mean, they're putting it on Instagram and sharing it. Like, you can't pay for that kind of marketing. So just something to think about, because the cookies, once they eat them, they're gone, but the class is something that you can build up excitement for, and they've got great pictures to post on Instagram, especially the teenagers and the tweens. Okay, so now back to lessons learned of donating cookies for so long is you got to have terms. I have been burned. Ask me how I know. I've been burned several times with donating, especially before I kind of really had a business mindset about cookies, when I was just like, yeah, I'll make cookies for everything. There's some good lessons learned there. So on everything that I make now, I have terms, and here I'll show you, like, here's a little bit of, these terms that maybe were not. Okay, so this says, good for 1 dozen free cookies. Please provide a minimum of 3 weeks notice, which you have to have a time limit on there because sometimes people will call you and say, oh, I want these next week, especially if they've never had much introduction to cookies. They just don't know how it works. And you need to put that on there, because I got contacted, and this is before I had a business. I donated a set of free cookies to our school, and she called me like the week before, and she was like, yeah, I want these for my daughter's middle school graduation. And it was the same, my son's birthday was that week. I mean, it was a nightmare, and I didn't want to say no because I didn't want to reflect badly on the school, on the charity, and plus she was a fellow parent. So and I was like, no, I didn't have the policy. Like, I didn't set the policy, so I paid the piper and I did them. She loved them, but that mistake, I learned a valuable lesson from that. Subject to availability is another one. So, you know, I just had someone reach out to me who won a raffle. She wants to do a private cookie decorating party on October 30th. I'm like, there's no way. There is no way you're doing a private decorating party on October 30th. So I just put it in, some people put dates in there. I don't. I just say subject to availability, because that just lets them know, hey, you can't just get any date you want. So what I usually do when they contact me to say, hey, I won the raffle, I say, great, you know, please give me 3 dates that work for you, because then you don't have all this back and forth of trying to schedule it. Or you can just refer them to a form. If you have a form for classes anyway, you can just refer them to that and they can fill it out and send it to you. Another thing, little trick for the terms is, and I learned this the hard way, on the back of it, write a number. Like, keep a list of your donations, especially if you're doing several. Keep a list of the gift certificates with a number on the back, because anyone can see this and like take a screenshot. So you kind of, like, I did that before and I was like, oh gosh, like I don't even know who like won this. So a lesson learned, write a number on the back. And then when they call and say, hey, can you tell me the number off the back? I mean, usually if you're ever suspicious, you can always ask for that. So the next thing I started adding, is that you're a home baker. And if you're not, you don't have to worry about this, but most of us are home bakers. And so I put that in my terms now to say, cookies are baked in a home kitchen. Unfortunately, allergen accommodations cannot be made. And that, again, weeds out people. You don't want people spending like $200 and $300 or $400 on this at a raffle and then not being able to redeem it because they have allergies. So I try to be really upfront about that and let people know, because you don't want them wasting money, and you don't want angry people and you can't refund. I mean, they haven't paid you anything. They paid you the charity. So having good terms weeds out problems or prevents problems. And then I give them the location, I give them my website, and I tell them where to redeem. Send me an email here, or you can direct them to your form or your website, or your Facebook page or Instagram. And then I also put my website, any sort of contact information I put on there. The next thing I learned is I started adding the number of weeks. So now I put subject to availability, minimum 3 weeks notice required. For the cookie decorating classes, I do tell them that they can be customized. I used to say customized to any theme, but then like there are a lot of themes out there that I do not want to do. So if you don't want to do naked people or, whatever political stuff, just say can be customized to match most themes. So then that frees you up from being obligated to do some themes that maybe you're not comfortable with or not on brand for you, or just aren't your cup of tea. And then I ask for the classes, I say, and I'll post links to these. I think I can post a link where you guys can go in and edit them in Canva. I'll try to figure that out. So then you can just go in and you can plop your pictures in. Another just point here about the terms. For the cookie decorating classes, I specifically say how many people. Good for private cookie decorating party for up to 6 adults or children, so they know like it can be a combination. And then the other good thing, like I said before, if you want to get into a gateway into teaching classes, it's a great opportunity to take pictures, so you have photographs you can put in here. So this was actually a local business. This was her team building, like her team treat award, like after the holidays. And so I was able to take some great pictures and be able to use these, and I matched like the color. So I'll get into that a little bit when I talk about the Canva stuff. Okay, so chugging along. I'll post a list of terms, like things that work for me. I know this has come up a few times in just posts in the group. So just be mindful, like just kind of put everything out there to avoid the pitfalls that I fell into and paid dearly for. So the next thing I want to talk about very briefly are some tax considerations. And I say tax considerations because I am not an accountant. This is not tax advice. Tax advice. I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. This is just what I do for my business. So when you donate, and what I've learned, but always, always, always consult with your own tax professional, right? Don't come at me if I give you bad tax advice. So for making donations, and I can post the links from the IRS for this portion of it, just the bulletins that they put out about this. A couple of things to consider for your taxes. So if you donate a set of cookies, the only thing you can donate are your cost of goods. You cannot donate your labor. You can't donate the retail price. You can't deduct. You can't deduct the retail price. You can't deduct what was paid for them at the auction. So if your cookies went bananas and someone bid $600, you can't do that. You can only deduct the cost of the ingredients and your mileage. So if you deliver them, you can deduct, which you would anyway as a business expense. But I know this has come up a few times in the group where people think that they can deduct what they normally charge for that, and that is not true. The second thing to consider is gift certificates. So that's kind of why I moved into gift certificates as well, because the IRS states very clearly that gift certificates have a cash value. So what I was advised and what I do is if and this doesn't apply in all cases, so if you're just donating to someone who's like trying to fund their kid's soccer team or something, that won't apply. But for a 501c3, you can get a receipt for in-kind donation of the value, so the value that you normally charge for the price, like the retail value of it, and then you can claim that as a deduction because it's a gift certificate, and the IRS does say that the gift certificate has a cash value. So that's what I do now too. That's another incentive for me to do the cookie decorating classes, because it's a bigger write-off, because I was doing so much work for those like customized like dozen sets, and able to deduct like $6 for butter, well like $20 now for butter. So it wasn't even worth it for me to do the tax deduction for the cookie sets. But for this, and you have to have a receipt from the 501c3, because if you just try to say, oh yeah, I donated a $400 set to Billy Bob's like soccer camp, the IRS, that's not going to fly. I'll tell you right now, that will not fly. And with the increase that we're in audits that we're expecting over the next couple years with this influx of IRS agents, just have all your P's and Q's, your lines dotted and your T's crossed, right? But that's just another consideration. So now I can take the full cash value deduction. I can deduct the cost of this as a business expense. So I charge like $450 to $400 for a private party of 6. Okay, sorry I arrived late. Have we addressed donating proceeds from a pop-up or any? I'm just talking about tax, so that's perfect timing. So I'll talk about that portion of it in a second. So for me, it's a greater tax advantage for my business to donate a high-ticket cookie class than to donate either just a set of cookies, or a gift certificate for cookies. So just document, like all these charities have a receipt, request it, they'll send it to you. It's very official. Say that in your bookkeeping paperwork for when you get audited. Super fun. Yes, so donating proceeds from a pop-up. So again, I'm not an accountant, I'm not any official tax person, but you can't use your business as a pass-through. Like the IRS, it says you are a business and this is a business. So if you are donating proceeds, you would bring that income in as you normally would, claim it as you normally would as income, and then you make the donation, and you can, if I do not know about sorry, Jessica, let me get to your question in a second. So I don't want to get off track. So if you, lost my train of thought. So if you donate, where's I going with this? Okay, yes. So then I'm an LLC, we file a Schedule C with our personal taxes. So if my business makes a donation, that just gets kind of reported in with our charitable donations for our taxes. I do not know about anything like sole proprietor or the S Corp, all that stuff. Like I just know as we file with our, so you would be able to, if your business made the donation, you would be able to file that just like you would as a charitable contribution with your regular tax forms if you're an LLC filing a Schedule C. Where this gets hinky sometimes is if people try to circumvent counting that as income. Like I know people will just like everything they sell will be as part of their business, like 100% of the proceeds are going to, you still have to claim that as income and you still have to claim whatever you donated as a business charitable contribution, like a business expense, like your business has paid that out. So if it's not a 501c3, if you've done, and I've done this with, we had a local calligrapher here and the restaurant that just burnt down. A lot of fires here in Annapolis, but I donated stuff for each of those, and that's just on me. I cannot take any sort of tax break or write-off or deduction on those because they're not 501c3s. This is just me helping someone in our community. So in that case, even though I donated a cookie decorating class for that, and it was a big ticket item, I don't get to claim any of that. So Jessica, to get back to what you said, so Liz, I don't want to comment on that. I would ask your tax person. I don't have the knowledge to answer that question. But yeah, it would be the same. So I don't think it matters much, but that's definitely a question for your tax person. Okay, so Jessica, so donating a cookie class would be like a gift card for the IRS. That is, I will say this, not a tax professional. That is my understanding, and that is what I do. But it only if it's a 501c3. You cannot do it, like I said, for the restaurant here that lost stuff in a fire, you cannot claim that. You cannot claim that as a cash value because it's not a 501c3 recognized by the IRS. So just be really careful when you're doing donations. Make sure you understand the difference between what a 501c3 is and just helping your community. And a lot of times when we have these like community disasters or tragedies, most of the time you're donating to that, it's not a 501c3 just because they haven't had time to do that. It takes a lot of paperwork and a lot of time for these charities to get that designation. But anything like most of the school PTOs are 501c3, so that's kind of a safe bet. They can send you the paperwork for that for your taxes. Like our homeless shelter in town, Red Cross, like there's a ton of them, and you can just ask. If people ask you for donations, always inquire about that because that will have tax implications for you. And if you get audited, like if you just donated like a $500 cookie class to Billy Bob's soccer team and you get audited, you will be on the hook for that. So just be warned, that's not a qualified, I thought it might be my husband, like saying, don't give tax advice. So just be very mindful of that and just make sure anything you deduct, have a receipt from the charity that states they're a 501c3, what the value of it was, what you donated, and the date of the donation. You're going to need that if you get audited. So always do your bookkeeping as if you're going to get audited. That's just my best advice. So unless there's any questions, one thing I did do, I did a cookie class fundraiser for Ukraine. And I charged $90 a ticket, but I wanted people to get the tax benefit from that themselves. So what I had them do in that case is I had them make a donation to a 501c3. They can do their tax. And I was like, hey, if you donated $90, you can come to my class. Like, so it's not a way around it. Like, it's just how I chose to do it for that class. Because that was a significant amount of money. I mean, $90 is a lot of money to pay and not get a tax deduction. So if they would have paid that money to me as a business, I would have donated it, but then I would have gotten a tax donation. So, which didn't really seem fair. But again, consult your tax professional on that. That's what I did. I just had them, and so they had their own a receipt that they could use for their taxes, and I stayed out of it. So they just screenshotted me a screenshot of their donation, and I said, you're good to go. You can come to the class. Here's the address. And I held on to the address until I got that. Okay, so a couple things. I'm just going to go over some pictures in terms of marketing and, you know, how to make the best presentation, get the most money for the charity, make your business look amazing and awesome. So you guys have seen some of these. I'm going to show you some pictures, but let me do, I had one. Oh, no, here it is. Okay. So Canva, this is, I'll show you this one. So I've recently, okay, Brenda, let me see. Okay, Seymour. Brenda, I've recently had a request for a donation of product for goodie bags. I'm considering it because it's a nonprofit I support anyway, but wanted to add that in my state, Texas, we're not allowed to donate product but can sell at a deep discount, kind of a loophole. So just mentioning as people should check their state laws too regarding donations. Yes, but also keep in mind that a deep discount, you cannot claim any discount as a expense on your business taxes. So if you say, hey, I sold $100 worth of cookies, I sold them to it at $20, you cannot claim AB as a donation. You can't do that. But that's good advice. Thank you, Brenda. Okay, so there are a couple of, I think, there are a couple of lives in the group. I know we're almost to an hour, so I'll try to get through this quickly. There are a couple of lives in the group about Canva. There's a lot of people who do some Canva groups. So if you haven't been introduced to Canva, I 100% love it. I hate with a passion paying for apps. Like, I cannot stand paying for apps. I will never not pay Canva $12.99 a month. I'm just saying that. Yes, Brenda, you would be able to claim the cost of ingredients, but not your labor for that donation. So yes, you can do like butter, eggs, flour, but not your hourly rate, not your retail cost. Okay, so Canva, this is one, and I'm a big fan of going through Canva and finding something that I like generally, and then customizing that to what I need it for. So this is one I found in Canva. It was, I did not like the brown, but I did like the layout, and I did want something with photos, because you guys know I love photography. The twins talk about photography. I have a couple of, one or two photography lives in the group. I can't stress enough about having good photography. So I wanted to have photos because photos sell. Like, if you're looking at a piece of paper if this just said private cookie decorating party with no pictures, like, it's not going to sell. But people see like this cute cookie, they see the layout, and they can envision, oh, for my team building, that would be amazing. Oh, for Susie's birthday party, like, they can envision it. So here's the one I found on Canva. It's had a few, I liked the layout, but not the color and not much else. So this is how I was able to customize it. You can see I kept the layout. I had to change it a little bit because my photos were just, they're different, like, they were portrait instead of landscape. I changed this here to make it kind of ripped and like rustic, and kind of go with my brand. Let me move this so you can, I didn't print that on cardstock, I'm sorry, you can kind of see through the window. Oh, darn it, other one. Okay, sorry, wrong one. Okay, and so then Mulberry Treats, gift certificate. This is backwards. Can you guys read this? For 1 dozen custom decorated cookies. And then this says, gosh, I don't have my readers on. But right here, it says, thank you for donating thank you for your donation. Thank you for your donation, benefiting. And then I was able to put the logo of the restaurant here that burned down. So one, when they redeem it, I know where they got it from, and they can say, oh yeah, no, oh, I got it at the Oyster Bar, or when they give me the number, then I know where it's from. So, and that just helps it look customized. The event likes it because your logo, and you can download people's logos like pretty much anywhere. So I thought that was a really nice touch. And then fine print, I will say fine print because I want people to know there is fine print. And then I list we already talked about that. But then I always list my website and my Instagram account. You can do your Facebook if you're more active on your Facebook. I'm just more active on Instagram. But anyway, so that's just a tip for Canva, like how I was able to, customize it, put my logo on there, make it something that looked really nice, and really just took this and deleted, changed colors, and moved stuff around. Okay, just see if there were any more comments. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Okay, so let me show you a couple of pictures. And then this one that I showed you before, this one that I was able to customize the logo, or excuse me, customize the gift certificate to the cookie to match the event. And that's what that one looked like. So if you've got time, put a little effort into it beforehand, it can really help bring in more money. So, sorry, let me just go to my folders and show you. Oh goodness, okay. Sorry. I need my kids here. I thought I had my folder open, but I didn't. Cookie donations. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and share you. I'll post some of these in the group. So this is, and this kind of gets into just a point here about, sometimes people say they feel icky, like bragging or commenting that they've donated stuff. I do for some things, but generally I don't, just because I have donated so many things. If I never posted about what I donated, I would not have any content on social media. So I got over that pretty quickly. But sometimes there are just things that maybe hurt a little bit too much, and I don't post those on social media. So this is one of them. This is just a good example of what a cookie set looks like. I always box it, put a cute Brady bow on it, and make it look nice, because that looks good. It's very appealing on the table. I mean, people, especially if they don't have much exposure to cookies, are like, ooh, like, oh, what's that? So people love cookies. Like, we all know this. So this is one I did for a local farm. So not a charity donation, but she's a local farm. She supports a lot of local businesses here in the Annapolis area. And this was for her Christmas market. I found these mugs at Tractor Supply Company, and I honestly need to do a live or something about that, because they are like almost as good as Hobby Lobby in terms of really cute stuff. So I saw that, and I was like, I gotta cookie that. So I did a cute set that was for a raffle item. And the same people who come out and support small businesses and support events like that are the same people who are going to come out to classes and support other local makers and creatives in the area. So even though this was not a charity, it was still a cause like near and dear to my heart. And yeah, I know, Amy, those mugs. I still have a couple. Like I bought so many. They were so cute. I couldn't resist. I'll have to show you a picture, but I did the chicken. I did a cookie with the chicken in it. Anyway, it was super cute. It was only like 6 cookies. I was already making Christmas cookies anyway, so it wasn't like a ton of like work and effort on my part, like those big custom sets are. But it was cute. That was a hard one to give up, I'm not gonna lie. And then I have a big roll of cellophane that it's like a Christmas wrapping paper roll of cellophane. It's great for donations, especially if it's bulky or part of a box set. You can just wrap it up and tie it with ribbon, so always have cellophane on hand. This is the first set I ever donated. This is 2015. It was inspired by a Stampin' Up set. And this was for the preschool. So that was the first set that I ever donated. And that I walked into to set them down on the donation table, and the director of the preschool came over and bought every single one. So that was a great confidence booster, especially as like a rookie cookie decorator. But still one of my favorite sets ever. So it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Like, it can just be something that you want to do. That's a good excuse for you to, like, Gobo, if you guys make cookies for Gobo bake sale, like, that's always a good excuse to like get out there and kind of stretch your creativity and do a set that you want to make. Especially like me, if you're a hobby baker, you don't make cookies like all the time. Or if you're an active like business and you're kind of cranking out, you feel like the same thing like all the time. Donating a cookie is a great excuse for you to get out there and stretch your creative legs and try some of those techniques that you've paid for on classes and things like that. So that's just my take on it. So this is one of the first, I make a ton of Maryland sets. This is the first one I decorated. This is for our school PTO, 2016. I got like $35. I was crushed. I'm not gonna lie. I was really crushed. But then talking about improving your skills. So this was 2016. And then here's the same set. Oh, wrong way. Same set that I did the next year, and look how much I improved on it. So it is a great way to like get yourself out there and kind of get creative and force yourself to do some fun stuff. Okay, so then the next one, I think that was it. I already showed you the other two. I saved a bunch in there. Okay, so that's it. If you guys have any questions, type them in real quick. Amy, yes, Tractor Supply, they must. In Iowa, we have one here in Annapolis, well, just outside of Annapolis, so they have the cutest wrapping paper, they have the cutest decor, like, it is the unsung hero of, like, cute cookie stuff. And they're just super fun to go into because there's, like, tractors, and it's, I don't know, I just like it. Maybe it's because I grew up in Arkansas, but it appeals to, like, my country girl nature, even though I'm kind of a city girl, too. Let's see, if you guys don't have any questions, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something. I hope you, this gave you the confidence to get out there and make a donation, make those connections in your community. You know, we're all facing tough times now, especially small business owners. So we, you know, it's good to it feels good to get out there and help people. And this is a great way to do it. Not everybody has the skills that we have as cookie artists. And it's fun to get out there and show people cookie art. Brenda, you're welcome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Amy. But anyway, I hope that you guys found this useful. I will post the links to some of the Canva stuff. And I will also post like a response, like a no response, so you guys can just copy and paste it and use it, customize it to your business. Because that is, we don't like saying no to people, and I really, gosh, like I said, I could literally make cookies all day long for people for free, but then that's that's why I teach classes, to fund my cookie philanthropy, because that's just a big value of mine. It's really important to me to get out there and help the community through cookies. So thank you guys so much. Bye.